Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
Yeah, but before we jump in, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to Rugby Obsession, so you never miss out on these kinds of detailed tactical breakdowns.
Definitely. You don't want to miss it.
Right. So today we are looking at basically a massive 1,237-point hole in the English rugby team.
That is a very specific number.
It is, and we're talking about the controversial 34-year-old Band-Aid that one legendary player says is the absolute only way to fix it.
Right, yeah. It's a massive claim. And this actually comes straight from a really engaging piece in Planet Rugby by Alex Spink.
Right, the Alex Spink article.
Yeah, so we're examining Anthony Watson's stark assessment, looking ahead to England's nation's championship clash with the Springboks.
Okay.
And his core argument is just completely uncompromising. He says England desperately needs their record point scorer, OWEN Farrell, back in the squad, like immediately to stop the bleeding.
Wow. I mean, to even begin to weigh the reality of Watson's claim, we kind of have to look at the crater Farrell left behind, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's huge.
Because after the 2023 World Cup, Farrell made the choice to step down from the captaincy and take an indefinite break from Test rugby.
Which is vital context here.
Exactly. It's vital for everything we are discussing today. He stated he needed to prioritize his mental well-being and, the well-being of his family.
Yeah, totally understandable.
Right. The pressure cooker of the England captaincy is notoriously brutal, so he chose to step away from that international spotlight.
He did. I mean, he did feature in the international arena shortly after playing 2 tests for the British and Irish Lions in Australia last summer.
Oh, right. The Lions tour?
Yeah. But as far as the England setup is concerned, he has been a complete stranger since that 2023 break.
Completely off the radar.
Yeah. And you really have to look at the empirical data of what has transpired in his absence. I mean, England has just endured their worst ever Six Nations campaign.
It was rough, really rough to watch.
It was historic. We are talking about a massive statistical drop-off in attacking cohesion, defensive alignment, and just game management in those final 20 minutes of matches.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. Think of a modern rugby squad like a high-performance vehicle, right?
Okay, I like this analogy.
So the forwards are the engine. They generate all the raw power, the torque, securing the ball at the breakdown.
Heavy lifting, yeah.
Exactly. And the wingers and the fullbacks, they're the wheels. They provide the top-end speed and the finishing out wide.
Right, makes sense.
The fly half, the number 10, sits behind the wheels steering the whole thing. But the number 12, the inside center, that is the transmission.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. If you don't have a functional transmission efficiently translating the power from the forwards and the direction of the 10 out to the edges well, the engine just revs loudly in neutral.
And the wheels never actually spin.
Exactly. When Farrell stepped away, England didn't just lose a kicker, they lost their transmission.
They did.
They lost the guy who scored over 1,200 points, guided them to a World Cup final, a semi-final, and secured 3 Six Nations titles.
And that tactical void, that missing transmission, is precisely what Anthony Watson believes is causing England's current historically bad woes.
So it's not just a sentimental thing for Watson.
No, not at all. Watson isn't just saying, we miss our best player in some abstract way. He is offering a highly specific, targeted solution on the pitch. He is zeroing in entirely on the number 12 shirt.
Okay, that's the core of his argument, and I want to understand the mechanics of it here. How does Watson argue that slotting Farrell back into the 12 shirt fixes a squad that looks fundamentally broken across the park?
Well, Watson, and remember, he won the vast majority of his 56 England caps playing in the back 3 right alongside Farrell. He argues that inside center is the single position in the current England squad that simply has not been nailed down.
It has been a bit of a revolving door.
Exactly. In the modern game, the 12 channel is the hardest defensive channel to marshal. You have these giant dynamic ball carriers running directly at you.
Huge guys.
Right. And you are responsible for setting the line speed for the entire back line. Watson actually calls Farrell unshakable in that position.
Unshakable.
Yeah, he views him as the essential gel that instantly turns England's back line into one of the top 3 in the entire world.
Okay, let's break down what gel actually means in a rugby context because, it gets thrown around a lot as a buzzword.
It does, yeah.
Mechanically, an elite inside center takes the cognitive load off the fly half, right?
Exactly.
When a defense rushes up to shut down the 10, the 12 has to step into that first receiver role seamlessly, identify the mismatch, and distribute the ball or kick it to relieve pressure.
That is the exact mechanism. Farrell's presence at inside center stabilizes every single player outside of him because he is constantly communicating defensive reads and attacking lines.
He's like a coach on the field.
He operates as a secondary playmaker. It means the opposition defense cannot simply target the fly half because Farrell can orchestrate the attack just as effectively from one channel wider.
So he just opens up the whole field.
Right. Watson's point is that Farrell's sheer organizational intellect elevates the ceiling of the wingers and the fullback. They are suddenly receiving the ball in space with front foot momentum.
Rather than taking man and ball under immense pressure.
Exactly.
Look, I hear Watson's praise, and the tactical theory totally makes sense, but I can't look past the biology here.
The age factor.
Yeah, Farrell's 34 years old now. He has been out of the test arena for 2.5 years.
It's a long time.
It is.
Yeah.
You can't just plug a player back into the most physically punishing position on the pitch and expect him to not miss a beat. The inside center channel is essentially a high-speed traffic collision every 3 minutes.
True.
Hasn't he lost the fractional physical pace and the sheer conditioning required to dominate at the international level for 80 minutes?
Well, Watson was pressed on that exact skepticism, and he flatly rejects the premise.
Really?
Yeah. When asked if Farrell has lost his edge or his physical capacity to dictate a test match, Watson's response was an emphatic no way.
Just no way.
Just no way. He insists that a squad with Owen Farrell in it is fundamentally better than one without him, regardless of the age on his passport.
But how does he justify that? I mean, biology comes for everyone.
He justifies it by pointing out that Farrell's game was never built on explosive line-breaking pace anyway.
Okay, that's a fair point.
It was always built on spatial awareness, elite distribution, and an abrasive, dominant mindset in the tackle. And you don't lose your rugby intellect at 34. In fact, your ability to read the game often sharpens.
You just see things happening before they do.
Exactly. Watson argues that Farrell's mind, his competitive drive, and his sheer aura on the pitch easily compensate for any marginal loss of raw speed.
So just having him out there changes the temperature of the room?
Right. Watson states plainly that your chances of winning silverware improved drastically just by having Farrell in the camp, dictating the standards of preparation. He firmly believes Farrell has plenty more playing years ahead of him.
Wow.
And that England head coach Steve Borthwick knows exactly how powerful having him in the group would be.
It really highlights the sheer psychological weight that a single dominant personality can exert over a 30-man squad.
It really does.
And speaking of that impact, I want to pose this directly to you listening. Do you think a 34-year-old Farrell is the silver bullet for England's current tactical mess?
Good question.
Yeah, drop your opinions in the comments. We want to hear your take on whether veteran aura trumps biological reality. And while you are doing that, please subscribe to Rugby Obsession so we can keep bringing you these deep tactical dives.
We definitely want to read those comments because, the tension between relying on veteran organizational skills versus trusting the physical prime of the next generation, that is the most difficult balancing act any international coach faces.
Absolutely. But we don't have to rely entirely on international hypotheticals here.
No, we don't.
We have an immediate high-stakes stress test happening right now at the club level. If Farrell still possesses that world-class, unshakable competitive fire that Watson describes, we are about to see it tested under extreme pressure with Saracens.
We really are. We are looking ahead to the Investec Champions Cup round of 16 clash. It is an incredibly highly anticipated fixture, Farrell Saracens taking on Bath at the Rec.
It's going to be massive.
Yeah, and to understand the gravity of this match, you have to look at the domestic context. Bath just completely dismantled Saracens 62-15 in the league a mere 2 weeks ago.
62-15. That is the elephant in the room right there.
It's a shocking scoreline.
You do not often see a team of Saracens' pedigree concede 60-plus points. It indicates a total structural collapse.
Completely.
The breakdown was messy, the defensive line was passive, and Bath's ball carriers were consistently winning the gate line and generating lightning-quick ball.
They had him figured out.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later, Saracens have to travel back to the very same stadium to face the team that just humiliated them, this time in knockout European rugby.
And because of that 62-15 result, the narrative surrounding this clash is heavily skewed.
Oh, everyone's writing them off.
The vast majority of pundits and the betting public are giving the Londoners very little chance. Bath looks fluid, expansive, and just brimming with confidence. A defeat of that magnitude leaves deep psychological scars on a squad.
Yeah, so if you are a Bath fan listening to this right now, Watson's next comments probably sound like typical media mind games.
They probably do.
But historically, we have to look at why his warning carries weight. Watson is issuing a very stern caution to Bath here.
Very stern. He says there is something fundamentally dangerous about Saracens when they are universally written off. You can never count out a squad that features a core spine of Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, Ben Earl, Jamie George, and Elliot Daly.
It's like poking a cornered predator.
Exactly. Let's look at the tactical reality of that specific group of players. A 62-15 defeat suggests that Bath pulled Saracens into a loose, unstructured, high-tempo game where tackling mechanics broke down.
They took them out of their comfort zone.
Right. But tactically, a loss of that magnitude actually plays right into a specific trap for the rematch. Bath is going to prepare for a team that they easily broke open. They will expect space.
Oh, I see.
But when Saracens are cornered, led by that specific core, they do not play open rugby. They revert to a suffocating, territory-based trench warfare system.
They tighten the screws.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to match Bath's expansiveness, Farrell will use his boot to pin Bath inside their own 22. Jamie George and Maro Itoje will turn the line out into a chaotic, messy battleground to deny Bath clean possession.
Make it as ugly as possible.
Yeah, and Ben Earl will slow down the ruck speed by competing fiercely over the ball. They literally drag the opposition into the mud.
Right, and that requires immense discipline and a total psychological reset, which is where Farrell's leadership comes in.
That reset is so crucial.
And Watson provided a perfect historical example to back up this exact psychological reset.
Oh, the Six Nations game.
Yeah, he pointed right back to the 2023 Six Nations. England was playing France at Twickenham, their home fortress, and they suffered a historic battering.
Yeah, they shipped 50 points to the French.
50 points. The media scrutiny in the aftermath was absolutely relentless. The pressure on the squad was immense, and the public consensus was that English rugby had just hit rock bottom.
I remember the tactical autopsy of that match. England tried to play a wide, expansive game against a French side that was just physically superior at the breakdown.
It was a mismatch.
The French just swallowed them whole and counterattacked with devastating efficiency. And the following week, England had to travel to Dublin to face an unbeaten Ireland team that was chasing a Grand Slam.
Everyone thought it was going to be a bloodbath.
Every single pundit predicted another catastrophic blowout.
But look at what actually happened on the pitch in Dublin. Driven by the absolute competitive fury of players like Owen Farrell and Maro Itoje, England completely shifted their tactical approach in the space of 6 days.
It was night and day.
They abandoned the loose, expansive game plan that failed against France. They went to the Aviva Stadium, played a brutal, pragmatic, forward-dominated game, and gave Ireland what Watson described as a real rattle.
They really did. I mean, they didn't win the game, but they fundamentally changed the narrative.
Exactly.
So they slowed the Irish ball down, they kicked accurately for territory, and they defended with a ferocious connected line speed that simply wasn't there against France.
And that transformation didn't come from a new playbook. It came from sheer willpower and the on-field organizational brilliance of their leadership group just demanding higher standards.
So true.
Watson's point is clear. If Bath takes this Champions Cup knockout game lightly based on a league result from a fortnight ago, they will be walking blindly into a tactical meat grinder.
You know, when you synthesize all of Watson's points, from the international stage to the club level, it perfectly illustrates his core thesis regarding Owen Farrell.
It really does. Form is temporary.
Right.
A historically bad Six Nations campaign or a 62-15 domestic drubbing. Those are temporary dips in execution.
Sure.
But the psychological edge, the organizational brilliance in the 12 channel, and the sheer force of will that a leader like Owen Farrell brings, that is permanent.
It is a compelling argument for the enduring value of a generational player. Whether Steve Borthwick eventually makes the call to bring him back to the England squad, or whether, a quiet conversation has already happened behind closed doors and Farrell has politely declined to return, his shadow still looms incredibly large over the entire landscape of English rugby.
It does. The standard he set is the metric by which the current squad is failing. And until someone else steps up to commandeer that backline, the questions about his absence will persist.
Which leaves us with a critical, kind of provocative question about the future of this team.
Oh.
Yeah, think about this. If Steve Borthwick does listen to Anthony Watson, if he swallows his pride and brings Owen Farrell back into the fold as that unshakable number 12 to face the Springboks, what does that actually mean for the next generation of players waiting in the wings?
Ah, the young guys. That's a great point.
Right. We are talking about highly talented domestic players like Seb Atkinson, Fraser Dingwall, and Max Ojomo. They are on Borthwick's shortlist right now, waiting for crucial test minutes to develop their own international careers.
Now you need that ice time, so to speak.
Exactly. Does bringing back the 34-year-old legend save the team's results today at the ultimate cost of stunting the development of the team of tomorrow?
It's a fascinating tightrope Borthwick has to walk.
It really is. Balancing immediate survival against long-term growth. Be sure to let us know where you stand on that specific dilemma in the comments. We read them all.
We do.
Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.